Hello students, I want to address our menu assignment to kind of help students start working on that. So in order to find the items on our menu assignment, we would go over into the buttons, we would look at assignments. I already have it clicked on, but we'll click it just for our visual sake. You will get these items. So there's your student contract, there's your director form, there's your observation form, there's some options. So there's our activities. We'll come back to that. Keep scrolling. There's our chapter reflections. We'll come back to that one. Then our menu assignment. This is due July 1st, so I really want to emphasize on that. So this is what we would call a folder. So you would click onto your menu assignment folder, and this has all the items that you'll need to help you be successful on this project. So the guidelines, which is basically our instructions, are going to be here. You'll have to click onto the blue. We will see that later. And then there's our cheat sheet. There's a really good sample. So I kind of have all these things. So students often ask me, how can I post? Where do I find that? So to post your menu assignment, you would click this. What you would be doing is you would click it. You would come down, has a grade, remember it has all the instructions. We'll get back to that specifically in a minute. And you'd keep scrolling to show you everything what to do. So how do you submit? You can do a written submission. For this assignment, I would not suggest that. I would say do it on your own, do a PDF or on a document, and you would browse your computer. And so you get different items. I'm just going to show you what it can look like. I'm picking this just to pick. But let's say this was your menu assignment. You click on it, highlight it, and then you'd push open. And see, if you scroll down, you'll see that it has uploaded it. So this, when you see what you have named it, that means that it has been uploaded. Then you're going to scroll down and you're going to submit. I'm not going to submit because I don't want to submit this, but this is how you do it, and that's how I would see that you have submitted it. Let's say you're struggling with that and you can't get it to go, or for some reason it's not working. You can always send it to me in a course message, which is fine with me. So let's kind of go about the assignment, like what do we need to do? So with the guidelines, I'm going to be pulling up a variety of things, but I can kind of tell you quickly through this. So the main component of this assignment is you're going to be creating a week-long Monday through Friday menu for preschool age. Why is it important for the preschool ages? So you can know which serving size you should be using, which I will get to in a minute. We are focusing on the CHDV guidelines. Now this is very important because the textbook is going to tell you something different, because that's a general textbook for all of America. We're particular, since most of you are going to be working in California, focusing on what does California specific guidelines are. Most preschools that are in California are being funded for reimbursement for their meal programs through the CHDV, and that's why I wanted you guys to kind of focus more on what their serving size are. So the key thing of this menu assignment, when you're creating it, needs to be visually appealing. The menu planning section is 40 points, but the visual appeal is 10 points too. So this whole little section is 50 points, which is half the assignment. So it's very important that you're paying attention in what you're doing. For you to get a good score on this part of the assignment, you need to have the correct serving size based off the CHDV. I'm going to show you some in a minute. You need to tell me specifically how the items are cut. You need to have the correct number of items. So for breakfast you would have 3 items, for lunch you would have 5, and for a snack you would have 2. You often need to, especially when we're talking about lunch, you need to balance the colors, such as with your fruits and vegetables. Why we wouldn't have the same color, so we wouldn't have green grapes with green peas. One is because it's not as appealing. You know, who wants to see a bunch of green? Maybe you really like green, but most children are not a fan of the green ones. But hey, we will work that out. The more important thing is nutritional value. every item has a different vitamin that's represented in it, and a lot of it is what we'll talk about in our nutritional segment with the nutritional science of food is our phytochemicals. And our phytochemicals are kind of talking about that balance of color. We need a balance of texture. So if you really like the Food Network shows like I do, I love Chop, I love all those, some of this is going to come into play, like the critiques that they do. Young children, we eat with our eyes, so that visual appeal, those textures are very important. You need to give me a lot more specifics. So if you work at a center already, they have a very kind of plain menu, and that's okay because they have to do their write-up to the state, and that's where they get that. But for our assignment, I want a lot of specifics and I want a lot of detail because I'm seeing if you're learning what we're talking about. So with that being said, I wanted to pull up a sample. There are samples. Actually, I know some of us are visually looking at items, so let me pull this back up. So this one here is actually what I pulled up. I'm not going to click it because I already did it. This is what is sorry it's kind of sideways, but you can open it up and print it out if you want. This one's very visually appealing. It has graphics, it's very organized. Students, maybe you're not as graphically orientated and maybe you're not as computer savvy, maybe you can use stickers, you can make it visually appealing. But one of the important things is right over here, this student told me the dates. And why does the dates matter is because we have seasonal items. So if you like strawberries and asparagus like I do, they can be very expensive when it's not strawberry season or asparagus season. So seasonal items are important because it's going to help with our cost. Now, if you notice, I'm going to turn it slightly this way. If you notice what's going on with this, right here is the milk. So for every breakfast and every lunch, children have to have milk. Now, if you look over 3/4 cup, 1%. I need to see that for lunch and for breakfast. That is a requirement, and that's actually one of the items. So then we go into our grains, we go into all these different things, but see how organized it's across. So milk is organized across this. If we go to the next one, see how organized that is. Sorry, I'm a little slanted. And then we kind of come this way. It's very visually appealing, has 5 items for our lunch, 2 items for our snack. So this is very visually appealing, it's very organized, she has the correct serving sizes, she has a balance of colors, she has no items are redundant. So once you use strawberries once, you can't use it again. So these are very important components to help you get the full 40 points of this part. Every time a student has an error on serving size, that's a point deduction. If an item is redundant, we're getting more points pulled off. So this can be very important to know. Now the next thing I wanted to do is kind of talk about the serving sizes. So this is kind of your cheat sheet. You need to focus on this column right here, the 3 to 5, because we're doing preschool. So with this is the breakfast. It tells you all the items that you can have. It tells you the serving size. So see the 3/4 cup. Where does it go? Alright, I'm pulling this down so we can see more. But 6 fluid ounces is going to be 3/4 of a cup. So that's very important, and they're using 1%. Now you can pick grains. If we're doing it traditionally, what the CACFP says, they want whole wheat. They won't take white items, but I'm going to give you some leeway on that for this assignment. Notice the cereal amounts. So notice that there's flakes, there's rounds, there's puff cereals, there's granola. All of them have different serving sizes. So if you're going to tell me a cereal, you need to tell me the type. So if we're talking about corn flakes, that would be a flake. If we're talking about puff cereals, maybe like Kix, that would be here, and that would be a different serving size. If we're talking about rounds, that would be like Cheerios, see how granola is too. And that's the items for breakfast. And they have lunch and supper. If you're from down south like me, you know what supper is, but that does mean dinner. So here is what we're looking for. I really want you guys to emphasize and look at the fruit and vegetable serving size. It's 1/4 of a cup for vegetables and 1/4 a cup of fruit for your lunch menu. For lunch, why this is particularly important, you need to have at least either 2 vegetables or a fruit and vegetable, and then it'd be 1/4 of a cup. Then if you keep scrolling, down here is what our snacks are. Remember, you need to focus in the column that's 3 to 5, and this will give you the items that you need. So please note, if we look at even fruits and vegetables, it is slightly different again. It's 1/2 of a cup here. So this will really help with your serving size. I do suggest that you print it out, just kind of help you. Now let's go back. So all that would be required for that first part, that's like 50 points, which is huge. Now for the second part, what we're going to be talking about is our written component. And look at this, I just want to kind of emphasize, well, one, the milk is not correct. It's not the correct serving size, and it doesn't tell me the type. But if we even look at the lunch, see how this one right here is going lower? That would make this not organized. So that's very important that we are focusing on that. Sorry about that text message. Now for the analysis part. The analysis and the evaluation, they're going to be 20 points apiece. So that's very important. With this, a lot of students intertwine that, which is fine, but I would prefer that we separate them. But I wanted to kind of address what they are. What we're doing here in these sections, it needs to be 2 to 3 pages at least. 3 pages usually, depending on what's going on, is addressing more of what I'm asking for. So with this part, in the analysis, you're going to be comparing the CACFP, the textbook, the food pyramid, and the My Plate. That is just a small comparison, maybe aim for about a paragraph. The focus of this part is really talking about why you picked the choices you picked on your menu. So why did you pick the items? How many items did you have for lunch? You should have 5. How many items you have for breakfast? How many items you have for snack? You need to make it age appropriate. You need to discuss the serving sizes that you picked. You need to talk about why you picked the items that you did. One of the important parts in here too is addressing seasonal items. So if we're doing summertime menu, you need to have fruit and vegetables that are represented around the summer items. You need to even address alternatives. So maybe you have a child that has a peanut butter allergy, milk intolerances. You need to kind of address those, and what would you do? So like if milk intolerances, maybe for that child we're going to have some soy options or almond milk or whatever the child's parents kind of prefer. You would write about that. I want specific details. You need to cite the textbook, you need to support your claims, really focus on why you picked the choices that you picked on your menu. I don't want general information about other menus. I want it to be about the menu that you created. Now the evaluation part, this is where we're looking more about healthy and nutritional values of things. So we're really looking at, are you explaining your choices again? Remember, you have to focus on your choices, and you're citing your facts. So when we're talking about explaining your choices, maybe you picked an item like spinach. Spinach has a lot of iron in it. It has a lot of different benefits. You might talk about why you picked that, and you can relate that to it has a lot of iron in it, and you would cite, the sources that you got that information from. You're going to talk about the variety. You're going to talk about how things aren't redundant. You have a variety of colors, a variety of textures. You even took in consideration young children's preferences. I have 3 small kids, and they are my middle's not, but my other 2 are very picky eaters. So you might be talking about preferences. You might talk about finger foods because preschoolers are really getting better at using their fine motor skills. One of the most important things that you need to address is the cultural value of things. So children from different variety of backgrounds, once they see an item they typically eat at home, now on their school menu, they can have an opportunity to talk about it with their friends, and maybe even they make it. So I remember when I was little, me and my grandma, she would make tortillas, and we kind of had a lot of fun making tortillas. So if they're seeing tortillas, maybe they're going to start talking about how they make it and give you some factual information. We can even see like pita bread and different type of items that are very culture related. Culture is very important, and we need to have a variety of culture in our menus to represent all the children. So we're really talking about the health-related items in this area. Why is it important to eat a variety of fruit? Why, like if we talk about bananas are full of potassium. If we're talking about items, like why are these health-related? What is their value is really what you're focusing on that section. So then that visual appeal is going to come into that menu. You remember that 40-point stuff. That's coming into, is it organized? Is it visually appealing? Is it graphic? That's going to be 10 points. Then the quality of writing is going to be 10 points. So are there spelling errors? Are you citing an APA? You need to have a reference page. You need to have a title page. Are they followed an APA status? I have samples on that posted that you can look at too. Now, I know for the summer class, we're doing the menu assignment relatively early. Normally we do this at the end in full semesters. But with the nature of the class, I need you guys to start working before you can start really observing because you're still looking for your centers. You can have an extra credit opportunity. This is one of those things. It's not the end of the year extra or end of the semester extra credit. This is really an additional onto this assignment. It does help students with their grades, but you're going to create a cost analysis of your menu budget. So you're going to really look at all the items that you picked. I have a sample. This sample is very, very good. The student in particular that made it was their job, so I'm going to click on it. So here's an example. This is all online. This is in the menu folder, so I just pulled it up to make it quicker. So you're going to have all the items that you used on your menu. This student even went above and beyond and made food groups. So they did dairy, they did grain. If you get the job of being the menu person for your preschool, this is something you're going to be doing. It's kind of hard, but after a while you get really used to it. So you're going to have the item. You're going to say where you bought it from. It needs to be local agencies for us. Local is very important. You're going to talk about the amount. Remember, this is always going to fluctuate. That's why those seasonal items are very important, because if it's out of season, it's going to be more. If it's in season, it's going to be less. So the cost that you would do for it, this student even went above and beyond and put a reimbursement. So does CACFP reimburse this or not? Which some we'll talk about it later on our actual lecture, why this is in particular. But you don't have to do that part. They did, but it was really nice. So if you keep going, they have all the items of their menu included, how much it is, and was it reimbursed. And then what's very important is the total at the end. Like, how much did you spend for this menu? Now, we'll talk about this when we get to the lecture component, but I really want you to just get in habit. It's just an extra 10 points if you want to do it. You don't have to do it. So with our menu assignment, this is what you're going to be doing. I want, feel free to ask me any questions if anything wasn't unclear. There's a lot of samples on there. There's the grading rubric, look for that. I have a variety of samples. You'll see how some of them are more impressive than others. The ones that are more impressive, of course, got better scores. So we're all about the scores, but I really want you to learn the importance of making this balance and what we're required to do in the preschool setting to make our menus. So this was kind of how we could do our menu assignment. I will be doing a video for each one, but I hope that was helpful. And please email me with any questions. Have a nice day.